Afternoon, folks. So the problem we have in front of us here today is an orthographic problem, and you can see the structure is given us here. They've given us a pictorial view here, and I have shaded in various surfaces in different colors. So as always, we're going to read the question and then we're going to attempt the question. So it says here, a pictorial view of the solid is shown over. Okay, so we've got the pictorial, which is the 3D view of the solid. We have to draw an elevation looking in the direction of arrow A. Okay, so that's the front view in the direction of arrow A. An end view or an end elevation looking in the direction of arrow B, and then draw a plan projected from A above. So part A means draw a plan projected from the elevation. Okay, so as always, we're going to work out our various lengths, widths, and heights. So in the direction of arrow A, I have my overall length is 130. In the direction of arrow B, my overall width is 90, and then the height is 90 as well. So always, what I would always do is then when I'm setting up the question, I'm going to set up the XY line, and then I'm going to position my elevation in the direction of arrow A. So on the XY line, arrow A is pointing in the left-hand direction. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to create a box that is 130 lengthways and 90 in height. And on the right-hand side of the elevation, okay, I'm going to create a box that is 90 wide and 90 high. Okay, and you can see I've actually already done that. Elevation on the left, end elevation, and our plan is going to be projected underneath. Okay, that's standard when we're doing it. Now what I'm going to do is just refer to some of the objects or some of the surfaces I'm going to see here. So in the direction of arrow A, I'm going to see this kind of red or pinkish highlighted color here. In the direction of arrow B, I'm going to see this green surface, and from the plan view, okay, let's call it maybe arrow C. In the direction of arrow C, I'm going to see these blue surfaces. Now, any surface I've shaded in yellow means I can see it in multiple views. More than I can see it in maybe A and B or B and C and so forth. So if we take this surface here, I can see it in view A, and I can also see it from the bird's eye view in view C, because obviously you can see here it's kind of slanted out or a sloping surface. Likewise with this one here, I can see it in view C and also view B. This surface here, surface S, I can see it in both A and B. And then this surface here, this kind of curved surface, okay, and you can see this line here is going to be tricky for us. That bit there I can see in both view C and view A. So there's multiple surfaces on this object here we can see in multiple views, okay? So I'm just going to refer to what the actual answers will look like. So in the direction of view A, this red surface here will be easy enough. This line here is going to be a challenge, this little curve. That's probably going to be a challenge, and maybe locating this exact point right here. This surface will actually be easy enough to get. We're just not going to see the true shape of it. I'm just going to see this line here running up straight, coming out, and then coming down at an angle. That'll be easy enough. In the direction of arrow B, I'm going to see this green one, this guy here. And in the direction of arrow B, I'm actually going to see this curved line here, but I'll see the back edge of it here. You can see where it says R is the radius. Our radius is going to be 30 millimeters, okay, because that is the distance there. Okay, sometimes they just tell you R, you have to find the radius. Up here it says 30. Okay, so I'm going to see a perfect, how would I put it, a quarter circle there, or a quadrant of a circle. And then from view C, then I have to work out these two surfaces as well. So just going to go to a little model view here. So we can see here in the direction of arrow A, I'm going to go here to my front view. And this is what we're going to see. This red surface, this yellow slanted surface, here's the curved face, and here's the bit at the front. This point right here is the bit that we might struggle to find, okay, at the start. We'll only be able to get that in our plan view. And even though this appears as a perfect, it looks almost like a perfect quadrant of a circle, that surface there we're actually going to have to sketch in, okay, using point location. If we come over to our end view, this is what we're going to see. This rectangle here, once again, the slanted surface. And you can see here now in this view, we're seeing a perfect quadrant, okay, with the radius over here somewhere. And then finally, the bird's eye view looking down on top of it. Blue surface here, blue surface here. Here's our sloping surface. Here's the other sloping surface. And then in our plan view, we can actually determine this point here, okay? And when we find that in our plan, we'll be able to project that up to our elevation. And there is our curved surface there once again. Okay, so that's the three views. Now we're going to start putting in the measurements for those. So I'm going to refer back to my drawing here. And starting off, I'm going to put in as much information I can from the elevation. So all my lengths, I've got 60 and 70 at the bottom, and then at the top I have 55, 35 and 40, and I have various heights in 30, 50 down and 30, and then I've got 40 and 50 as well. Okay, so I'll start putting in those. So in the elevation box, starting off, reading, I'm going to go from right to left. I'm going to measure 70, so 7 back to 0. And then at the very, very tip top, reading from left to right, I'm going to measure 55 plus 35. Okay, I've got heights here on the left hand side, and they are, I'll just measure from the 5. So 5, and it's 40 up. So 5 plus 40 is 90. And then on this side here, I've got down 50 and 30 again. So 50 should be the 40 anyway, and then another 30, there's 10 up. Okay, so there's my various heights put in. So the first thing I'm going to do, any heights that I have, just transfer them across very lightly. These two should meet up. Yep, happy with that. And any lengths that I have, I'm going to put in that little red surface there at the front. Okay, this surface here. Now this guy here, I'm just going to guide that up down here. It's going to give me a point right there from this guy here. And I'm going to connect that like that. Okay, that's as much of the elevation we can currently complete. So I'm going to heavy in some information here now. So this surface here, I can fully heavy in. Just going to get in my vertical lines. Heavy in all the bottom. There's that red surface there at the front. This surface here. Get in the last one up here, and then I'll get in the diagonal line. So that's as much of the elevation we can currently complete right now. If I just refer to the drawing there, okay, just fold this over so you can kind of see it. I can see the red surface here. I've drawn that in here, but this line here, we do not have a length for that point there. So because I can't determine where that is, I can't put in this sloping surface here. So we're going to end up getting a curve there like that. I don't know where it is. This 35, this point right here, you can see I measured out 35 there, came down and marked that there. Okay, so now we're going to put in our various widths. I've got 30 and 60, and then I've got 15, 25, 20, and 30 at the top. Okay, so they're the measurements I'm going to put in for all the widths. My heights are already done, so I'll transfer those across. So, any heights that I have, project those across. Okay, and now at the very tip top I put in the measurement, so it goes 15, and after the 15 I think I have 25 and 20. And there's 20 with 30 left over. Yeah, that's bang on, happy with that. And at the very bottom, forgot to put in that one, I have 30 at the bottom, so from here where the box starts, there's the 30. So let's get the green surface in. That's my green surface. I've got a slanted line from here out to here. So like we had over here where I measured, and I did it down, measured here. I'm going to bring this line down. Just going to bring that down ever so lightly. Connect this guy up to here. And now the last little bit we have to put in then is our semicircle, okay, or our quadrant. So here is our radius. Center point of our radius is right there. Okay, you can see that point right there. It's directly up from here. It says R, but our radius is going to be 30 because that's the distance there. So I'm going to mark back 30, which is this distance here. So I'm actually just going to bring that down just to give me a little guide rather than having to measure it. And then with my compass, I'm going to put in that arc there. So it should meet up with this point down here. And just checking. Yeah, I'm happy with that. There we go. Okay, so that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a perfect quadrant of a circle right there, that arc there. So I'm once again going to start heavying in that information now. So heavy in this line here, perfect vertical line going the whole way up. This line here, because that's my green face. This edge over here. Now I'm going to get in my horizontal lines. Oh, one more here at the top. And then finally, this slanted line here, or inclined line I should say. There we go. Okay, and now just use my compass. I'm going to get in that quadrant. And there we have it. Okay, so that is the end elevation fully completed. Just going to refer out to the model there again. You'll see if I come over here, green surface, there's that perfect quadrant of a circle, there's the angles and the inclined lines. So if I just refer back out to my model, you'll see, yeah, there they are. Very happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the plan view, and for my plan I'm looking down on top of it. So I'm going to see this blue face here, this blue surface, then this yellow surface here, and these two yellow surfaces here. Okay, so these are the ones that might give us, and this hopefully will help us determine this point as well. Okay, so any lengths that I have, I'm going to bring them down. Okay, this one here, down to about midway, because I know it's not going to come out the full way. So that's my length, and then I have one other length here actually. This one I'm just going to bring down to about there. And any widths that I have, I'm also going to bring them down as well. So I have one point right here. Bring that across to 45 degrees. Any other widths that I have, this one here at the top, all the way down to the XY line. This guy here, down to the XY line. And this guy over here, down to the XY line. Where every one of them hit the XY line, transfer them across at 45 degrees. There's multiple ways we can actually do this. Transferring widths from the end elevation over to the plan. You could project the line at 45 degrees this way and bring your line straight down to hit that and then come across. Or you could put a compass point here and use it as an arc to bring the points across as well. Okay, so to start heavying this information in, I'm going to start off by heavying in this blue surface here at the top, and then connecting it down to this point, and this point. Okay, so that blue rectangle at the top, well, the length of it is here, the width is here, so I have the length brought down so it's in between these two lines, and then the width is in between these two, so if they come down, so it's in here, so that must mean that in there right now is that rectangle. Now I want to find this point, and this point. Well, two of those points are here, okay, in the elevation. This point and this point are here, okay, because they share the same place in the elevation, and this point is here, okay, so it's in between these two lines. And then this point and this point, once again, I'm going to bring it down, so that means one point has to be here. Okay, I want to find the other point, so if I follow this point here down, that's where one point is as well, but if I project it across, I'll find the third. Okay, so that means then that this line here, if I connect that to that, that is our sloping surface. So I'm going to start heavying in just a little bit of information now, okay, to make it a little bit clearer to us. So we're going to heavy this line the whole way across, heavy in this top surface here, and heavy in this way. I'm also going to heavy in then this line down to here, this line here. This line is actually going to go heavy the whole way down to here, okay, and then connect up the diagonal line. There we have it. Okay, now the next section I'm going to start heavying in is I'm going to see here, okay, I've got this point down here which is here in plan, okay, that's going to come across as far as the 70, so you can see that face there comes across to the red face here, which is here, so that's going to go heavy as far as there. And I know then when I look down on top of it, I see this this yellow face here, this surface S that they're saying, I'm going to see that as a straight line, and you can see that line is actually going at 45 degrees, but it's actually really just connecting from here, this red face here, to this green edge here, and that green edge is from there. So if I was to project that across, bring that across here, and hopefully, if we're accurate, it should meet at 45 degrees. And we'll see how close I was. Yeah, I'm pretty accurate there. I'm happy with that. Accuracy is good. So I've got that there now. Heavy in this line here. We have one more edge to heavy in. This edge right here, which is going to help us determine that point there. So that is from here, follow it down, across. So from that point right there, and there we have our plan view is completed. So the last one we have to work out now is the elevation. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to project up this point from here. That's helped me determine that point right there. Okay, I've now found that point, which is this point here. I've also got this point here, so it's our curve is going to be going there like that. The problem is we can't just, I suppose, we can't just guess the curve, okay, and put it in. We have a good idea of what it's going to look like, but I have to find maybe another point or two inside there before I can draw it. So what I'm going to do is, looking in from my end elevation where I see the perfect quadrant of a circle, I'm going to actually create various points on this curve. Okay, so if you imagine maybe a point here, and a point here. And what that's going to allow me to do is get a more accurate curve. Okay, exact points that are actually on the curve. So to do that, what we do is we're going to split our curve up into 30, 60 degrees. Okay, so from the center point, I'm going to go 30 degrees down to give me a point right here. And I'm also going to go 60 degrees. 30 plus 30 is 60. Okay, from the center point. Okay, now what that has done is I'm going to label some points. I'm going to call this one point 1, this one point 2, this one here, point 3, and finally point 4. Okay, now that I've got point 1, 2, 3, and 4, I want to find them in my plan and then finally in my elevation. So, where point 1 is, it's obviously down here. If we follow that along, okay, these points are on the curve here. And if you imagine that curve is from this section right here. So that's actually a curved line, even though in our plan view it's appearing straight, okay? So point 1, if we follow it down, is going to be right there, which is then, if we follow it across, is up here. Point 4, if we follow it down, is going to be right here, which then, if we find in our elevation, is going to be right there. So what we have to now find is point number 2. Okay, so point 2, if I was to project that down, then at 45 degrees, we transfer it across, transfer my width, bring that across then. That's where point 2 is in my plan. So where I have it in my plan now, I'm going to bring it up to my elevation. It's up there somewhere. And where I have the same height of it, has to be the same height in elevation as it is in the end elevation. Transfer it across. There's point number 2. Okay. Now I want to find point number 3. So same method. Bring this down. Bring it across. There's point number 3. And finally, point number 3, the elevation will be found by transferring the same height across. That's where it hits. Point number 3. And what we do now is, because we actually have points, we can determine our curve by sketching it in. So from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. Okay, and then when you have it done, as best you can, try and do it in one smooth path. Okay, so there's the question actually completed. Elevation, end elevation, and plan. What I always check for at the end of the question is there any hidden detail. I don't think there's any hidden detail in this question here. So just really quickly, we'll refer out to the model. So we'll go into our 3D view first. Front view, yeah, there's the curve. I've got it completed. Red surface, that face, and then the sloping face. Around to the end elevation, yeah, that completed. And finally, the bird's eye view, the plan. There we have that. And lastly, just refer back then to our model. Yeah, that's the question completed, guys. Little bit of a tricky one there, obviously, on the curve, okay? And then obviously lots of sloping surfaces and slanted surfaces we can see in multiple views. Once again, if you can do that, you're doing quite well, okay? So hope you found that question helpful.